What it do, Kaizoku crew? It's your boy Kaizoku Ice, and we're here with a special Saturday morning video. So, I woke up this morning to a text from my buddy Joseph, and he was like, yo, Trump tariffs, we need a video about it because what does that mean for the One Piece community? So shout out my boy Joseph. And as I was scrolling this morning through Twitter and I was looking at Trump tariffs, cancellation of pre-orders, EBO2, OP11, I'm like, yo, I need to make a video about this because there are some significant impacts due to these tariffs that are going to be happening now and affecting the One Piece trading card game. So before I even continue, this is pure entertainment, not financial advice. I do not want any political comments in the comment section because I'm just here to spit straight facts. I do not lean any which way. This is not supposed to be anything political, no propaganda, no fake news, nothing, okay? And also, I'm not an expert, so please just take everything with a grain of salt. I've done my research this morning, but also I'm not smart. I'm not an economist. I am just a dude talking to y'all on the screen. So with all that being said, do your own research, make your own opinions, and let's do it. So, Trump tariffs, very hot topic in this week's news. So basically, Trump has announced tariffs across a bunch of different countries, and in particular, how this affects the One Piece trading card game is you can see here, 24% tariff on Japan, and as you guys are aware, Bandai is the creator of the One Piece trading card game, and they do their printing in Japan. So 24% tariff rate, pretty high, you know, and that is going to affect our pricing and potentially how things are being released because of high prices. So if you guys don't know what a tariff is, because actually when I was doing research on tariffs, I saw this chart. Only 45% of Americans know what a tariff is, which is probably more of a knock on the American educational system itself, but nonetheless, some of y'all might not know what a tariff is. So real quick, I found this chart here. Basically, maybe I'll add some graphics here, making it One Piece related. So let's say this is a box of One Piece and it's $100 for the box, right? So once a tariff is imposed, so let's say that 10% tariff, so $100, it is now going to be $110 because they will now have to pay that extra 10%, so that $10 to the federal government for the jeans, which will increase the prices, right? But, you know, of course, these companies have to make profits. So after expenses and profit, they're going to be selling those boxes for, you know, $120 when the original price was $110 because these companies need to make profit, pure and simple. Because, you know, if because of the tariffs, it's going to be costing more for the U.S. importer, they're going to have to make their margins back somehow. And the way they're going to make their margins back is, you know, by increasing the prices of the goods. Pretty simple, right? So these are like the exporter absorbs the tariff by lowering their prices, or the U.S. business reduces their profit margins to keep retail prices stable. In the trading card game business in particular, I don't think, you know, because the profit margin is so low for a lot of these, you know, trading card game stores, etc., I don't think they're going to reduce their profit margin because they have to stay in business, right? I'm pretty sure from what I've talked about with other vendors at card shows, you know, the profit margins aren't that high. So in general, right, they're going to have to raise the prices because they're not reducing their profit margin. So what that means for us is that, you know, we're going to probably have to pay a little bit more for our cards, you know, our booster boxes, our blister sleeves, etc. So this kind of whole thing was spurred when I was scrolling through Twitter in particular today, and I saw this stuff about the Nintendo Switch 2. So if you guys haven't seen, the Nintendo 2 Switch MSRP price came out this week, and it was $450, which is quite high, I must say, because of PS5, which I personally have and I love. It costs between $400 to $500, and I think that's like, you know, okay value for something as, you know, something as good as a PS5. But for the Switch 2, $450 is a lot of money. But for the simple fact, actually, if I look up here, it says here, Nintendo shifted its manufacturing to Vietnam to avoid tariffs, right? If I look over here, Vietnam being tariffed, bruh, 46%. So if you look back at this article, it says here, they could see the cost eventually rise to as much as $600 if impacted by that 46% tariff rate, guys. Yo, $600 for consoles absolutely mind-boggling. And I ain't paying $600 for a Switch 2, right? So, using the same concept once again, actually, let me scroll up here. So I like this article. It says, Trump tariffs will have a real and detrimental impact on the games industry, and I include the trading card game industry as a part of the games industry. So it's not looking too good for us, guys, because once again, if the boxes are being, coming in at before $100 and now we have to pay $120 because of that 24% tariff, it's kind of expensive. And will that make people shy away from the hobby because things are more expensive and things are getting out of control? Maybe. Once again, I'm not a financial analyst or economist, but if you see all the doom and gloom in the news, and once again, this could be all fake news, so please do your own research, but they're talking about global recessions, people not eating out as much anymore, and is there some merit to that? Maybe, I don't know. Once again, do your own research, but things are seeming to get, more pricey, and our wages aren't changing either, so there's going to be this battle in particular, and I'm not really here to talk about that side of things, but really go over the facts about everything. But in particular, right, these tariffs are going to be increasing the prices, and as such, there are trading card stores, so LGSs, LCSs, are actually canceling pre-orders. So this is a Hobbiesville. They've been in the news on Twitter, at least, pretty infamously for canceling pre-orders for some product because, as you can see here, Canada will be charging a 25% tariff on USA products. This will affect a number of products that we carry, as well as a number of pre-orders. So let me see here. Canceling orders when this price increase is refused to be paid. So they're actually canceling and refunding pre-orders because, let's say, for example, they had a pre-order for a box of EBO2, for example, right? I actually don't even know if they sell One Piece, but let's say they sell One Piece and they cancel an order. My pre-order of EBO2 for $100 because they will now have to sell it for $120, right? This sucks, right? Because we understand that these card stores need to make profit because, right, the margin of profit is so slim. But at the same time, right, if I have a pre-order and I pay you upfront $100, I expect to get that product for $100. Because of this, is it my fault that, you have to pay more for the tariff? Was it an oversight on your end for not accounting for all of this stuff in the future? I don't know. But, more of the story is, if I'm paying $100, I'm expecting to get this product for $100. I don't want you to cancel my order. And there's been a lot of outrage about this because, people are mad. People are not happy that, they're going to have to pay an extra $20 more to get their product, right? So that's pretty significant. And also at the same time, if these tariffs are, once again, from what I understand, these percentages can change, and hopefully they will change, because I think that will be, pretty hard to collect if we're, paying a 20% extra price on these products, right? But, once again, these can change, and once again, who knows what's going to happen in the future. But in the short term, at least, we have EBO2 releasing, I think, April 25th, right? So at the end of this month, will that affect how that's being distributed to all of the, local card stores here? Will we end up, first off, the shipments could be delayed, because maybe people just don't want to ship to America anymore because, all of these different, issues with the pricing, etc. Or maybe these local car stores, maybe they just can't afford it anymore. I really don't know. And I'm not here to do any speculation, just here to, once again, spit the straight facts. But there is a potential risk for EBO2 to be delayed because, right, in this article here with the Switch 2, right, they basically, I'm trying to find where it said here, but they basically said that they're delaying the pre-orders because they're waiting on they're waiting for all this tariff stuff to kind of finish and come to a resolution. So is that going to be the same case with EBO2 and OP11 in June? Are we going to have to wait for all of this to be shipped because of the tariff situation? I don't know. But what I do know is that, if it does come in, what we can expect actually is for that price to go up, by probably 20%, because as you can see here, right, 24% from Japan. That's probably what we're expecting. Once again, I'm not an expert at how these transactions happen with these local card stores. Will it affect everything in the store, including the booster boxes, or even just like having binders or penny sleeves? Like, I'm not sure which products will be affected, but what I'm assuming based off of, what we see here with Hobbiesville about, all of these different products being increased, in particular the booster boxes, I am assuming that the booster boxes will be increasing by 25%. So that's the main takeaway of this video, is that, you can expect to be paying more for your booster boxes. And I personally, I don't love that because I just like paying my, regular retail price. But I can also understand, from a business perspective, these companies have to survive, so they will have to increase their prices. And, if you're friends with these local card stores, which you should be, because, you should be supporting one another kind of thing, it doesn't hurt to pay an extra $20 on top of what you would be paying. But at the same time, money don't grow on trees. So that's like, if you're paying 20% more consistently, you're gonna run out of money eventually, and that's gonna suck, right? We don't got unlimited budgets. I don't got unlimited budget, bro. I'm just a kid, bro. So like, Anywho, I think the last thing I have here, this last tab, man, PSA limiting the grading of Pokemon cards. So let's see here. There is a line here. PSA will be temporarily pausing the acceptance of PSA grading submissions directed to the U.S. facilities from customers located in all countries outside of the US. That sucks, man, because I know a lot of my subscribers actually, are not in America. And it kind of sucks because I know that you guys want to grade your cards just for the simple love of the game. You want your cards graded. And the fact that you can't do that anymore due to all these tariffs is just kind of sad in general. And I guess I understand why, because the example they're giving here, let's say with the Moonbreon, right? Like, this Moonbreon, if it goes for $3,000, once it gets a PSA 10, if you're paying a 10% tariff on that, you're paying $300 in tariff fees, right? So for example, now relating to One Piece, Goldie Roger manga, PSA 10, let's say it's $5,000. If you're paying a 10 to 20% tariff, you're paying an additional $500 to $1,000 because of these tariffs, right? And nobody wants to pay an additional $500 to $1,000 on the Goldie Roger. Like, that should be your card and your money to have right then and there. But these tariffs are, it's really affecting a lot of things from, Nintendo Switch prices to booster boxes to now even PSA graded cards. It's a lot of stuff going on in the world right now. And once again, please make your own opinions and decisions on all of this. But these are just the facts. Things are going to be going up more. Can't send your stuff into PSA if you're outside the country because prices are increasing prices are increasing because of tariffs. And unfortunately, it seems like in the short term at least, we'll be paying a little bit more on our cards. So once again, I don't want to see, this is the end of the video, and I don't want to hear anything political in the comments, but I want you guys to just let me know, like, what do you think about this whole situation? For me personally, not being political, but it's a little bit frustrating, as I've said, my reasons in the video. And hopefully, things can be in control. But most importantly, hopefully this does not affect the release of EB02 here in America, because I'm so ready to rip open my Gear 2 Luffy manga rare. Like, I need that so bad. And also with OP11, I love OP11. I think it's going to be a great set. Will we get it on time? I mean, we have until June. It's releasing in June, so we have like 2 months. So hopefully we get it in time, and it's not egregiously priced. But now, who knows? Who knows what's gonna happen? Once again, I'll keep all of us in the loop here. And if I see any new news about these tariffs and how it's affecting the trading card game, I'll let y'all know. Also, it might be worthwhile for some of you guys, to call your local card stores and ask for yourselves. I know I'll be doing that, and I'll ask them, hey, are we still expecting the shipment of EB02 on time? How much is it costing? All of that noise. So, yeah, once again, guys, just a quick, maybe not a quick, it's been 15 minutes for this video. So if y'all stayed for this whole thing, I appreciate y'all. And, let's stay good, guys. We're in a really interesting time, really polarizing time with a lot of different opinions. And let's just stay nice to each other. I'm not here to get in my soapbox or anything, but let's just be nice to each other. We're the Kaizoku crew. Let's stay connected. We've got motion, everyone. Like, we're actually almost at 400 subscribers, which is great. So let's just stay and look out for one another here. Promote positivity. These tariffs kind of suck, but also it's the way the world works. So anyhow, thank y'all for watching on this wonderful Saturday morning. I love y'all. I'll catch y'all in the next video this week. Giveaway winner. So cool, fun stuff. Hope y'all have a great weekend. I'll see y'all later.